Nathan Blankenship. I'm gonna stop saying your name, Nathan. All right, just guess your name. So we have Bad Rooks. Wow, crew. We have. Hey, I do take baths. How dare you say that, Steel? Of course I do. In grot slime. All right, so we have Deffkilla Wartrike with Super Cyborg Body, Captain Bad Rook, Mazgas Cragbag, Namad Smash Good with Ed Wappas Kill Chopper. 2 War Bosses won't follow me, lads. 3 Chuck, Flash Gits, 3 units of Gretchen. I really like that. I just nowadays I'm going into more Gretchen. I'm like, I want more stuff. I want to take more of my deployment zone. I want to screen more stuff out. So that I'm into that too. 2 units of Knobs. GW said you guys got a point increase. He said, we don't care. I'm bringing them all. And the Squigs. There we go. 2 units of Storm Boys and a War Biker unit. I like running the Deffkilla Wartrike with that War Biker unit. Oops, I don't need that up yet. So yeah, this list is something that the only difference here is there's no gas, but in a lot of ways, this is very similar to all the other what I would consider a very typical strong orc archetype right now, where you have Captain Badrook, you have a Mazrog, maybe you have a Deffkilla Wartrike, maybe you don't, maybe he's a gas, but you have Naban Smash Group, Elbow Skill Chopper, and then you have multiple war bosses with big units of knobs, or you can double scalpel with small units of knobs. 3 trucks, 3 to 4 trucks, whatever it is. This is what you'll most commonly see people kind of starting their list development from for our current archetypes and then breaking it down into other ones. So I really into his list. I've run and used and likes very similar, if not the exact list. So I stopped using double knobs and just went for a gas because I felt like I needed those, that additional lethal and stuff. I just hate wounding stuff on 5s, even with knobs. So let's take a look at his matchup. So in his first game, he went into Necron's Canoptek Court. We have the Catan Shard of the Nightbringer, Luminar Caesaris. He's hilarious, right? But I had a Necron player say, I don't know if you can kill that. And you know what? He was wrong. Okay, so we have, with the knobs just destroyed him. So we have Overlord, Plasmancer, Technomancer, 2 units of Immortals. Oh, a unit of Warriors. Didn't really see that coming. Deathmarks, Lynchguard, Canoptek Swarm, Locust Destroyers, and then 1 unit of Wraiths. We have the Annihilation Barge, the Knife Scythe, and a Triarch Stalker. This list is totally just swinging off the wall with different, archetypes and with its archetype with different units that I'm not really used to seeing between the Night Scythe and the Lich Guard. The Death Marks are nice. I think they Eavesdrop. I want to say exactly what they do again, or Infiltrate, one or the other. Then we have the Wraiths are really what normally you see here, just a bunch of them. So the fact that he didn't just overload on the Wraiths is very interesting to me, because he did bring the Court, which is more about, I'm going to walk into the middle and just challenge you on stats, which if you choose to do that to Orcs, you have chosen wrong. So we actually have one of the few factions that when you go to stat check us into the middle of the table, we kind of laugh and we go, I guess. Whoa! Right. So yeah, I love to see that. And to the second matchup, he went to the Genestealer Cult, one of those armies that they hate us because we take up the board. But if you don't have transports, they just start picking you apart. So you really want to make sure that you've understood that your transports are going to be the ones getting targeted. And then when you disembark, just be aware of the Overwatch when you start to get interchange of them. Not that they have great Overwatch, but keep in mind of that. And then they have a couple countercharging units. So when you do start getting stuck in, be prepared to fight in death. We have the Abominate, Kellamorph, Primus, whatever. Alakite Hybrids, Acolyte Hybrids. Here are the 3 units of Aberrants, and then Achilles Bridge Runners. So this guy's like, you know what? I'm sick of coming in off table edges and not doing anything. I'm just going to go hit you with these guys. What they hate to see is the fact that Orcs are going to just be like, I guess I'll just fight death against you and then pick up almost 400 points each time I fight you, and I'm going to swing the game on that. And that's definitely going to swing the game. So let's see what his third game was, though. And his third game was the Adeptus Custodi. So we're going to have a data sheet and pull up here real quick also in a bit. But we all know that Custodes are just a very difficult matchup for Orcs right now. It's very obvious. Any army that's like, I'm just going to stand in the middle of the table and fight first, and you're going to have to walk into me, and I have great OC and durability stacking and and reduce damage. Yes, very annoying. So we have the Blade Champion, a Veiled Blade that just makes him get 2 more attacks, and he gets more OC. So one turn he's going Super Saiyan with those Wardens he's most likely with when they pop the heart, Feel No Pain. We have the Shield Captain with Inspirational Exemplar. They understand their own weakness to Battle Shock, therefore then throwing Exemplars to allow them to automatically pass Battle Shock within 12 inches. I think it's like once or something. We have 3 units of Custodian Wardens. The one unit's just slightly smaller than the other 2. And then the 2 big bricks of Wardens, of course, are all looking to pop their Feel No Pains. And then a Cladius Assassin and Lord Inquisitor Draxus. So let's take a look at that girly girl. So Lord Inquisitor Draxus, we have a anti-Xenos Inquisitor. So really what she does is, while this model is leading a unit, let me see if I can highlight this. While this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes an attack that targets an enemy unit, including Imperium or Chaos, add +1 to the hit roll, which means against Xenos, which is Orcs. That's us. Hi. Also, another thing to keep in mind here is that because it's to the whole unit gets +1 to hit. Hey, so that means all the Custodes, just in case they ever were getting -1 to hit for some reason, which they're not against Orks, they try to counteract that with her. But really, that means she's getting +1 to hit. So that means with her, with her little firepower of guns, it's anti-infantry 4+, assault with dev wounds. So dev wounds on the 4+ for her 4 shots that are now hitting on 2s and 2 damage a pop. And then she's also dealing with her Tempest of Fire, which that can also be going for weird indirect and such. She's pretty interesting with that capability, and she's trying to do some mortal wounds to you as well. She's turning into one of those custodian squads into like, hey, I can slightly skirmish with you even better, which is very, very annoying. So this is one of those matchups where normally if you have a bunch of transports, you're like, hey, you can't pop them because you don't have any anti-tank. So there are shenanigans you can do by tagging these units and drawing their characters into having to pile into the trucks, having to pile into your Storm Boys, having to pile into your Deffkilla Wartrike, so that your other units can fight them reliably. Mind you, when you do fight in death, because of the wording of the strata, fight in death by model count, which means the custodian player cannot counteract that with reducing damage by 1 with genetic alchemy or whatever, because that's by unit. So keep in mind, very, very hyper important that you retain the ability to fight in death, because that's really how you're going to get around the reduced damage and their fight in death. So you're now doing that will become very, very important. And in my opinion, Gaz gives you the ability to possibly annihilate the wardens as well. It does become a little interesting that if you are really cheeky you can get flash skits within range. So Captain Badrook allows them to be reduced toughness by 1, and then your knobs on the wall will be strength 10. So that means even though they're going to be -1 to the wound, they'll still be getting wounded on 3s, and then you pop Unbridled Carnage, and then Gaz goes off on them. With Gaz Makari's ability. So you can stack all of that in one shot when you're warden units. The problem is that you still have a bunch of other warden units to deal with, and you have other guards. So this is one of those things where I'm like, hey, bring Mandos and stop those guys from getting into the table earlier. Deffkilla Wartrikes for OC contention when I can. Like I said, a Gaz already. So this is, as an Orc player, you understand if he's a exceptional custodian player, he's going to understand how to be playing it. It really comes down to if in the wall you can get your damage output and he doesn't roll crazy feel no pains or whatever it is, but very difficult matchup for Orcs. So there's no direct answer other than hope the dice are somewhat in your favor and do all you can to mitigate their efficiency. And like I said, get them to fight and pile into things they don't want to pile into. His next matchup was into the Hypercrypt Legion. So imagine you can go on to Custodes with triple wardens and triple warden guard, and then you're like, oh, Hypercrypt's next. So we have the Night Shroud, the Katana of the Nightbringer, a Void Dragon, a Hexmark Destroyer, the Silent King, Saitan, 2 Swarms, Doomsday Arcs, 3 Doomsday Arcs, and the Locust Destroyer. So what's normally you'd be like, I have Immortals here so that I can shoot, and then they have a character in the unit that allows them to shoot and then move closer into an objective. They would have other kind of shenanigan-y, maybe individual destroyers to start dropping into different corners of the table. This person decided, I'm going to go for all damage and just say, hey, stat check you. And like I said before earlier in this, Orcs are one of those armies that you don't want to just decide to stat check with 1,000 points of your army by saying, here's multiple Void Katans and the Silent King, and you're like, I guess we'll go for this, and then you roll all your damage into it and you hope that you just annihilate them. Also, you can beat them on OC. You can understand that sometimes you don't even have to charge them. You just deny primary, and then go for your secondary scoring potential, stop them from getting in the table where they want to be. He doesn't have a bunch of small units to fit into the edges. He really just has his one Locust Destroyer for that. So if he doesn't have a good fixed secondary, that's another thing as well. So Hypercrypt can be beaten by Orcs. We actually are one of their hardest matchups besides Custodes, who are directly hard matchup for Necrons right now. But yeah, there's a bunch of answers, but you do have to be a somewhat technical player and understand their capabilities and really dissect their list when they look at it, because you can see that one's drastically different Hypercrypt list than I've seen or played into, which the ones I played into have more stuff. Then we have Iron Hands, followed our Dark Angels, Dark Angels. We have Azrael, Tech Marine, Assault Intercessors, 2 Ballistas, 2 Lancers, an Inceptor, a Land Raider Redeemer with the Firestorm, a Redemptor Dreadnought, 2 Redemptor Dreadnought. This is one of those things where if the person understands that Redemptor Dreadnoughts are super annoying, he might front load them into you and force you to kind of run into them and such. But all in all, you kill their scoring units, hope that they don't beat you on fixed, deny primary. You're going to see that I'm saying that a lot because people are bringing these like effective, durable units that maybe we don't outright kill because maybe you didn't bring gas or whatever may be the tools, or you're killing something on the other side of the table. Understand you don't always have to kill stuff. Understand that you can just park yourself on an objective, go store your secondaries. Next turn, only let him get 5 primary. Do that for the first 2 turns, and then destroy him on turn 3 with your WAAAGH, whatever you have to do if he's playing KG. But Orcs do have the answer, whether it's you stat check me in the middle and I destroy you, or I deny your primary and go for all the secondary, kill your secondary units in the skirmishes, and then later in the game I jump you turn 3 or your more durable units on the turn 3 WAAAGH. So very interesting how that goes.